Okay, the last speaker for the session is Akhil Langer, and he's one of Sanjay's students, or did you graduate? Yeah. He's going to talk about variation-aware scheduling for many-core chips.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Akhil Langer. I'm advised by Professor Kale and co-advised by Professor Udatta Palekar from Department of Business at UFI. This work is done in collaboration with Ehsan. He recently graduated from our lab. So I'm going to talk about future HPC systems that are expected to have on-chip variation. So how do we do power and energy optimization for such chips? You can also check out some of our other interesting work on energy and power optimization on this link. So this is a brief outline of my talk. I'll briefly introduce and motivate the problem, give the problem statement, tell you about the framework that we're proposing, and then the power and energy optimization approach, and then finally give some results and conclude. So given the audience, I don't think this needs an introduction, like why power and energy optimization is important, but nonetheless, for the sake of completion, I'll tell. So power and energy optimization has been identified as one of the major challenges by DOE to achieve exascale. And this is because of the increasing energy consumption of the upcoming data centers. And just to put it in numbers, for 20 megawatt power at 7 cents per kilowatt hour costs about $1 million per month. So it's a huge amount, and that is why it is becoming more and more important. And recently, there has been a lot of work in which researchers, they have found out that chips or transistors with low voltage operation have been found to be highly energy efficient, and therefore we are focusing on chips with low voltage operation. These chips with low voltage operation, they have been known to have very high energy efficiency. For example, if you are operating a chip near its threshold voltage, it has 10 times higher energy efficiency. However, it comes with its problem. Because of variation in the CMOS manufacturing process, these chips have variation across transistors within the same chip. So this leads to different cores on the same chip having different frequencies and different power consumption. So this is just an example of one of the sample many-core chips running at low voltage and having different frequencies for different cores. And this plot shows a small a chip with just 36 cores and having variation in frequency and static power consumption. So given this context, I would like to state my problem as this, that it's not always optimal to use all the cores on the chip. First of all, because of high energy dissipation, and also even in terms of application performance, it's not optimal, because when all the cores are running simultaneously, they can actually degrade the performance because of contention at the shared memory. So, and most of the real applications are memory sensitive, so it's not always optimal to run all the cores, especially when the number of cores are very large, which will be the case in the future systems. So we define that we need to find, given an application, we need to find the number of the cores on which we want to run the application while turning off the rest of the cores. So we define a configuration as the number of cores on which the application is run while the other cores are turned off. So given this background, our problem statement is to determine optimal configuration for two different problems. One is to find the best performing configuration given a fixed power budget for the chip. So given that a power budget of say 20 watts or 30 watts for the chip, we need to decide which cores to turn on and which ones to turn off so that the application runs fastest. And the second problem is to minimize the energy consumption during the entire duration of execution of the application, and with optional time constraints also, because it's possible that a configuration can minimize the energy consumption, but the application will take a lot longer to finish. So we want to have some timing constraints as well. So this is the overall view. We first profile the application on the chip, and then we use we develop performance models and then use integer linear programming techniques to determine the optimal configuration for the given problem, which the optimal configuration is then applied on the chip, and then the application is run. So clearly, evaluating all possible configurations is not an option, because even for a small chip with just 36 cores, the total number of configurations can run to billions in number. So we want to develop performance models that can predict the performance of the application for any configuration of the chip. So we explore different models. The first model that is inadequate is that we just sum up the performance of individual cores on the chip. So basically, if each of the individual cores were running standalone while all other cores are turned off, we have the performance number for those, and we just add up those numbers to get the performance of the configuration. This is inadequate because this does not model the contention for shared memory. The second model could be to add a memory access time, but again this is inadequate because it does not take into account the number of active cores in the configuration. So what we proposed was a model that combines both of these. It takes into account the sum of the frequencies of the cores in the configuration, and also the number of cores in the configuration. So basically, we developed one model for all configurations with the same number of cores. So for all the configurations with just 3 cores, we have one model. For all the configurations with 4 cores, we have another model. So we have as many as n models, because there could be maximum n cores in a configuration. N is the total number of cores on the chip. So we have as many models as there are cores on the chip, and and each of these models is a linear model. Linear in terms of the sum of the frequencies of the cores in the configuration. And this model actually performs fairly well with an average prediction error of just less than 1.6%. We were also able to use a similar linear models for all the configurations with same number of cores to predict the dynamic power consumption of the configuration. And this shows here that an histogram of the prediction error for various configurations on the chip for 2 different applications, Jacobi and MiniMD. And we can see that the error on an average is less than actually 2%. So given these performance models, we now want to formulate our problem. And the first problem was to maximize performance or minimize execution time given a fixed budget for the chip. So in the objective function, this is very simple constraint optimization problem, although it may appear to have complex terms. So these are simple linear terms. This is the term for the execution time, and this is a binary variable which tells the number of cores in the configuration. And these are simple feasibility constraints which make sure that you are selecting only one configuration. This constraint here is for putting a cap on the power consumption of the configuration. So this is actually a quadratic function. As you can see, there are 2 variables being multiplied in the objective function. So quadratic functions are harder to solve, especially given that we have integer variables in the formulation. So what we proposed was to simply convert these quadratic programs into n integer programs. So basically what we are doing is we remove this nk variable, which corresponds to number of cores in the configuration, and we have as many as n integer programs. Each integer program corresponds to the energy consumption of all the cores with the same number of for all the configurations with the same number of cores. So we have n integer programs. We solve each of these integer programs. Each of these integer program gives us the optimal configuration with a fixed number of cores, and then we select the best configuration across these n integer programs. The second problem was to minimize energy consumption, and this is how the objective function looks like. We have a power term which has 2 components. One is the dynamic power consumption, which is a linear function, and the other is the static power consumption. And then the other term is the time, which is again a linear function. And nk again corresponds here to the number of cores in the configuration. Again, this is a cubic function, so cubic functions are hard to solve. So what we proposed here was something similar to the previous problem, in which we convert this cubic program into n quadratic programs by removing the nk variable and putting it as a constraint, and then we have n quadratic programs. So we are still left with a quadratic problem, which is again hard to solve. So now, in order to solve this problem, we proposed two different approaches. One was to convert, to replace the quadratic terms of the form x1, x2 in the objective function by binary variables of the form y12, and then add these constraints to set the value of y12 variable. But there is a problem with this approach. It increases the number of variables and constraints to order n square, which makes the problem much harder because it's an integer program and n square can be very large, even with the decent number of cores on the chip. Another approach was to remove this time term from the objective function and put it as a constraint instead. But we need to determine what the right hand side of the constraint is. And this problem we solve by using parametric search. We basically use uniform sampling to find the value of alpha. But this does makes the problem into a simple integer linear program, and then we just have to find the value of alpha. So this is the approach that we use for energy optimization. So in order to evaluate these approaches, this is the experimental setup. We had a Sniper multi-core simulator, which simulated chips with the operation at 0.765 volts. There were 36 cores on the chips, and the results that I am going to present, they are all summarized across 25 chips. We use two applications. One is Molecular Dynamics Mini App, MiniMD, and another one is Jacobi. These two have different characteristics. MiniMD is a computationally intensive application, while Jacobi is a memory intensive application. Now we compare our proposed approach of using integer programming with three different heuristics. One is a min-frec heuristic. Basically, it sorts all the cores in the increasing order of frequencies, and then starting from core 0, it selects x consecutive cores such that the objective function is minimized or maximized. Max frequency is similar to min frequency, except that the cores are sorted in the decreasing order of their frequencies, and then we select the cores with high frequencies, consecutive cores with high frequencies. Good cores heuristic is a little bit more involved than these two. It basically assigns a value to each core that corresponds to its frequency divided by the static power. Basically, if a core has a high frequency for a low power consumption, it's a good core. It then sorts the cores in terms of their goodness, and then selects x consecutive cores such that the objective function is minimized or maximized depending on the problem. In order to solve the integer linear programs, we used Gurobi, which is a commercial state-of-the-art integer program solver. It uses a variant of the branch and mount method to solve the integer programs. So this just gives an example of how the cores that were selected by these different approaches vary across different methods. So we can see that the min-frec heuristic selected these 26 cores, max-frec selected these about 24 cores, yeah, or more, 26, similar number, 26 cores. But the number of cores selected by the integer linear program were just 21, which are circled here. So it intelligently selects cores. And this one shows the results for the first problem, which was to maximize performance given a fixed power budget. On the x-axis, there's different power budgets for the chip, and on the y-axis here is the normalized instructions per cycle. And we can see that we get up to 2.5 times better performance using integer linear programming. The vertical bars here just correspond to the minimum and maximum benefit. And these vertical black lines correspond to min and max, and these bars correspond to the average across the 25 chips. So in general, the benefits are more for Mini-MD, which is a computationally intensive application, and this is because the application being computationally sensitive, so the cores that you select to run can actually affect the execution time. On the other hand, Jacobi is more of a memory sensitive application. The second problem was to minimize energy consumption given a timing constraint. So we solved the problem with 4 different timing constraints: 15%, 5%, 2%, and 1%. For when the timing constraint is high, we see that the good core heuristic is giving very competitive results to the integer linear programming approach. But when the timing constraints are very low, ILP is performing significantly better than the good core's heuristic. And this is because when the timing penalty is very small, then the number of configurations which satisfy this timing penalty are very few in number, and ILP is able to identify that, but good core's heuristic has a very limited configurations to select from. So we can see that with just 2% timing penalty, we can save up to 7.8% in energy on an average. Finally, most important question is, one of the most important questions is like, how long does it take to find these optimal configurations, because we are using integer linear programming techniques, and ILP is an NP hard problem. Just to put it on comparison, just to do exhaustive evaluation of all the billions of configurations takes about 74 hours on 8 cores. But we were able to solve the first problem in less than 37 milliseconds using ILP, and the second problem in less than 1.5 seconds. So the overhead is negligible. Yeah. So before I conclude, one of the questions that might come is that how are we going to handle load imbalance, because these cores are running at different frequencies? So the answer is simple, given that we are at the CHARMM++ workshop. We are going to do over decomposition. And then basically, do over decomposition, and then we show that actually by having even an over decomposition level of 16, we can reduce the load imbalance on such chips where there is so much variability across cores to within 2 to 6%, and it can be decreased further with higher over decomposition level. And over decomposition level of 16 is something that has been in use in many of the CHARMM++ applications, including NAMD, I think. So it doesn't have other overheads. The overheads of over decomposition are negligible at this level. And secondly, it doesn't require any change in the application code. We just need to add on a load balancer. So the conclusion is that profiling, basically one of the major contributions was to propose linear models, and developing these linear models takes only order n samples from the chip. And this is fairly small because each of these samples is just one or a few iterations of the application. And another takeaway from this is, from this work and also from 1 or 2 previous papers that we published, we have been able to show that ILP techniques are feasible to solve some of the very challenging problems in HPC. In one of the previous works, we showed how we can use integer linear programming techniques to solve scheduling problems for job schedulers in HPC data centers. And we are able to show that how ILP techniques give much superior results as compared to suboptimal heuristics. And finally, to do this, we don't need any extra compute resources to solve these linear programs. We just use the same chips to solve the linear programs prior to the job execution. And finally, there's a lot of future work, but I've listed some of it. We want to work on further improvement of performance models, and then we'll evaluate this approach with even larger number of cores and apply it to other HPC applications. There is a significant amount of work done in our group on energy and power optimization, and these are some of the publications. So I would recommend looking at this link and getting an idea of the way we are using Charm++ for power and energy optimizations. Thank you.
So questions? Yep.
So two quick questions. Have you tried kinetic algorithms?
Yeah, we haven't tried those yet. But yeah, that's a good idea. Sorry?
Has anyone?
This is fairly a new kind of work, so yeah. But yeah, genetic algorithms have been used for similar problems.
The second question is, you're solving these as IOPs, but modern cores can actually be scaled. I guess they can be scaled by rational amounts, not, and that's the general thought, or
Scaled in terms of what?
in terms of power, to increase or decrease speed.
Mm-hmm.
You're solving these as binary linear programs, I would assume?
Yeah, yeah.
So what would the extension to scalable processors look like?
You mean to say if the number of cores are increased?
No. I mean, on my computer, the processor scales the amount of power that it provides to a core based on demand.
Uh-huh.
So you no longer have a binary linear program.
Yeah, so this is more for HPC systems in which...
Right, but HPC systems do this too.
Oh yeah, so yeah, there is an extension to this work in which, so yeah, we can assume that there are fixed levels. If it is continuous, then of course we cannot model it as a problem, as a discrete. So we can assume fixed number of levels, and then we can extend the linear program to select from one of those levels of power consumption. Yeah.
How does that change?
It can still be formulated as a linear program. Yeah. So actually, yeah, this thing we have, I can point you to the paper for this work, and it has a linear formulation for multiple power levels as well. Yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
How does? Characteristics of that?
I/O intensive apps.
Which intensive?
How would an I/O intensive
I/O
app
oh,
change
I
your
see.
formulation?
Yeah, actually, so it wouldn't change the formulation, but if an application has multiple phases, like an I/O phase and a computation phase, then we need to profile that application for each of those phases, and then have different configurations for those phases. So it doesn't change the formulation, but it makes the process more complicated, that you need to profile the application for each of the phases, have different configurations, and switch configurations when the application changes phases.
So, other questions? Okay, I have a question. How could you adapt this to be used online?
Online?
Well, I mean, so you're quoting that your IOP solver has what, a 37 millisecond latency for this core count, right? So I guess there's two questions. How do you expect that latency to scale with the number of cores?
Yeah.
And do you think this would be usable online so that you could, profile as you go and then figure out how to schedule the I/O phase as it runs?
So the idea is so that we can use it for online purposes. So we did definitely need to explore it, what happens when the number of cores increase. They may or may not scale because it's an NP-hard problem. Even one variable you add and it can increase the time. So yeah, we need to see how it performs with large number of cores.
Well, and do you think that it would ever not scale even for this number of cores, or this is a pretty small number of cores?
So this was 36 cores.
Yeah,
and it does do pretty well.
For these two problems that you tested, right? Okay.
But these are two major problems that we intend to solve.
Sure.
Is there any other problem?
Other
problem that?
Well, no, I mean, depending on the configuration of the cores, right? You could get a different behavior from the solver, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
so
data dependent. So I don't know if it always takes 37 milliseconds.
Yeah, these results are averaged across 25 chips.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is on. Yeah. Even the maximum time was within this range.
Okay. Thanks. Any other questions? All right. Well, that concludes our session. So thank all the speakers one more time, and get your snacks.